Well, hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to another podcast. I'm excited to get this one out there. Nick, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Kay.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Nick. Good
Kay.
morning, Scott.
So for some of you all been sitting in on some of our, tech briefings, our podcasts. This is another RocketScreens presentation. Today we're going to discuss the integration of RocketScreens with Zendesk. And so Nick will go through ultimately that process, how simple it is and how powerful that information can be for an organization. So Nick Paget, let me introduce you first, sir. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do for this organization, and maybe more to cover today.
Sure, thanks. Everyone, Nick Paget, Director of Product Development. I do a lot of the integrations, of course, working on those, doing the apps, and the infrastructure, really in charge of the product over here. Today we'll be talking about Zendesk, specifically Zendesk support, so the customer service portion of it. I know they have a sales CRM also, but today we're just talking about the support section.
Outstanding. And Kay, good morning to you. Would you introduce yourself?
Good morning. Hello, everyone. This is the Commander's Assistant, Kay Bautista, and I'm glad to be joining you guys again in another exciting and I'm sure very informative podcast. So I can't wait to get started.
Wonderful. And again, if you haven't watched these before, my name is Scott Pressler, and I'm the CEO and one of the founders of US Analytics. We're a 20-year firm that specializes in advanced reporting, EPM, performance management systems. And we set off about 2 years ago on a pursuit to get this information that our clients are asking us to build for them out to their screens and to their staff. And no matter where they're at, we typically will go in and do a lot of integration projects. And we're using that technology to simplify this project. This process, and we have done so and built that within RocketScreens. And so hence, you'll typically see a lot of NASA gear because this isn't rocket science, but I'm a rocket scientist. Kay, did you know that? Did I tell you that already?
Yes, you did.
Not a good one. So great. Well, Nick, so Zendesk. So what do you know about Zendesk, the company, the market? Tell us a little bit about what you've studied up about that organization.
Sure. So Zendesk is primarily, or it's most well known for its customer service offerings. Offers several products to assist in customer service and support. Everything from like email supports to chat bots to managing customer tickets, everything like that. And like I said before, they have a sales CRM. It's relatively new. Last 5 years or so is really when it started picking up pace. So they're obviously branching out to fill more niches. But it's hugely popular. Most customers customers of something like Zendesk have a need for handling customer requests. They have such a volume of it, and Zendesk is a very popular tool for them. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please finish.
It's obviously pretty massive. In fact, they're becoming more and more massive. Actually, recently they were going to acquire, I believe it was, what was it? Typeform.
SurveyMonkey.
SurveyMonkey. They were going to acquire it until I believe it was late February when it fell apart. But they're obviously looking to grow their business. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on if you're not familiar with it already.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we know, it's interesting. I think Zendesk was one of the early. I mean, that's hard to really say when you look back in the past, but one of the early, first SaaS, all SaaS support systems. We have our own technologies in our company because we do have a support team supporting a lot of our clients at US Analytics. And it's interesting because the systems that we've used in the past, what I think you're going to show today is that it's a workflow product, but management or operations really want to see, in essence, the open ticket list. Kind of like a Kanban board of what is going on, how many tickets are coming in from what area, what sections, what types of tickets, How fast are we closing them? So operation teams and management really having this information out in the public on TV screens, maybe in the op centers, and obviously if you're working remotely on your laptops and PCs, like what RocketScreens can do, we can easily connect to this information and then get it out to any screen you have within the organization, no matter where you're at. That's pretty powerful, and it's one of those things that we've really struggled with the tools we've had and getting that report out. Simple as that, the dashboard, the information. And so management never really knows, are we closing tickets? Call centers, that kind of information. If something's getting log jammed in, the information about the ticket management is the most important thing for us to improve quality. Our clients happy. We get upset customers. So that's the funny thing about the business we're in is when you lock this information into these systems and you can't use it. It's powerful technology for workflow purposes. You help solve your clients' needs, but you can't really get to what really I think matters the most. Of course, I'm in the business of reporting, but so we're going to show off how to do that simply today.
Yep, and you're absolutely right with when you say, management really needs to keep a close eye on this because and I'm sure from experience as well as I do, all too often when you see these tickets or when you get wind of a ticket that's not going necessarily as well as it should, it's pretty late in the lifetime. It's like, oh no, I wish I would have known about this, days ago, weeks ago, whatever it was. And having this information readily available on either your desktop or TV lets you recognize those potential issues much more quickly, of course, leading to happier customers, to bigger lifetime investment of the customers or return on investment for those customers and everything. So it's a really great way to maintain that kind of knowledge and make sure that if they're limit the amount of things that'll fall through the cracks.
Well, and the other thing is, the other two things I know about, not Zendesk in particular, and by the way, there are a lot of support ticketing protocols out there. There's some big ones. ServiceNow is, kind of one of the higher end enterprise solutions, and maybe, Nick, that'd be one we should look at probably. And there's a few others of that large caliber. Every one of our customers has, a help desk, or client-facing help desk or internal IT help desk. And so everyone uses these technologies. The other thing that has to happen is you have to escalate. So escalation of tickets, again, that's information. So notifications for the ticket users, that's pretty common. They get a notification or an email on their phone. That's easy. But what's not easy, again, is what about the employees where this information matters and they're not in the system? They maybe don't have really access or want to access these systems, but they have to just to get the information. And then I think those are some of the things that we're solving. Is there's a lot of this peripheral user community that needs this information, but do they really have the time or do they want to log into these systems? They just really want snapshots of information to see if there's any log jams or bottlenecks. And I think we can provide a lot of that. And again, we're helping companies solve their problems, make it faster, maybe cheaper, and even better, right? So let's get right to it, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Please start your demo. I'm excited.
Let me share my screen. Let me know when you guys can see it.
You're up.
Sweet. All right. So this is Zendesk website, of course, zendesk.com. Again, they have customer service products, but and that's what we will be focusing on today. They have sales products also, but we'll come to those probably in a later podcast. And there's a number of use cases that Zendesk have. Like Scott was saying, you can be a signer who works these tickets, or you could be just management who wants to monitor the status of your overall kind of pipeline. And we have plugins and apps that fulfill several of these use cases. Today, we'll just be looking at one use case in particular, which is getting these reports out onto these screens. So Zendesk has an offering called Zendesk Explorer, which is their internal reporting platform. And getting these reports out to your team can be pretty straightforward as far as Zendesk Explorer is concerned. I have a dashboard here, which is a sample dashboard with some sample data. So it's not beautiful but it'll work for our purposes. And what we can do to get these dashboards out to the rest of your team is you can click share. And when you can share to individuals within the system, or you can share with a public link. And what's good with a public link is even though the link is public, you can actually set passwords on these URLs as well. So you can see you can check the box password protected, and you can enter a password here. So then when someone takes this URL, they have to enter the password to access it. And this is actually what we'll do in RocketScreens to leverage Zendesk. And so let me go over to RocketScreens real quick. I'm in a channel that I've created already for us, and we have our list of apps. I'll search in here for Zendesk. Like I said, we have several apps. We have one that just shows the support tickets or incoming support tickets that meet your criteria. We're not going to show that off today. We'll just show the Explorer dashboards. I'll leave the settings as the default. We'll click next. And our system will prompt you asking for the share URL that we saw on the other page, as well as the password for accessing it. So I'll go ahead and get the URL. Just copy it to my clipboard. And we also, now's a good time to mention, the passwords, even though they are optional, we enforce them for our system. Really, we're trying to treat your data respectfully, and we know that may create some friction with some users, but it's best, I mean, you don't want to be having these URLs that are just floating out in the ether in perpetuity, right? You should be able to have a password, and you can reset the password. So it's really best practice. And like I said, we try to treat your data respectfully, and so we force that as a requirement. So I entered a password for it, and I'll go back to RocketScreens and enter this password here. My screen may be a little delayed. Okay, I'll click next. And in this case, I'll enable the QR code link, which will link back to the dashboard. And I'll also show the last refresh label. And what that'll do is, like many of our other apps, we aren't showing live data. We're taking periodic screenshots. In Zendesk case, it's every 5 minutes. And so I'll show that I'll enable that label so that we can see the last time it was updated. So this will take some processing here in the background for a minute or so. And while that's happening, we can go set up a player. We'll use a web player in this case. So I'll go to the digital signage tab and go to players. I'll click create player. We'll do a web player since that's the easiest to demonstrate today. And a web player will end up giving me a URL, which I can then put in my browser, or I could put it in an intranet and embed it in an iframe, or you can even put it into another tool that allows you to embed web pages. We use Microsoft Teams internally. We can even tell it, say, hey, display inside Teams, and then we can have it as a tab in there. The real benefit of this, though, with RocketScreens is that we can combine other apps into this and show context for that dashboard as well. But we'll come back to that, I'm sure. So let me do with this. I'm not going to enter in any allowed domains. We're just going to be showing this in my URL for now. But when you want to embed it in a page, that's what you would set. I'll set the default channel to Zendesk, which is where we just created that app. Okay, so here's my new player. I'll copy the URL for it. And then it should be done here. So I'll copy the URL, open a new tab, and see if it's done. All right, so we waited a few minutes. The processing is completed, and here we go. This is the player URL showing off the Zendesk dashboard. It's scrolling through these pages, as you can see. It will probably appear a little jittery in the video, because we're recording it. We got the internet and everything like that. That's going to make it look jittery, but right now it's scrolling smoothly. So a few other things to note also, we have, of course, the QR code we prompted to show up here. This QR code, you can, of course, scan it with your phone, and it'll actually take you back to the Zendesk dashboard, as well as the timestamp that was last updated. I know we talked about the Zendesk URL can be a public URL without a passcode, and now we have a URL with RocketScreens. But like what we talked about, we can now really enrich this dashboard with other apps. So specifically something like PagerDuty, which is an incident response platform. You can accompany that with your dashboards, so you can monitor really the whole customer service and status of your environments. And so if I click this URL also, you see we're going back now to this dashboard.
So what you just demonstrated, Nick, is that you built out and mimicked what was already in there. You pulled out the report, and actually it's flipping through the different reports in a time that you established, so you could slow it down if you like. And then you have the QR code and the timestamp. You have the ability to click on that and go right into the product if you wanted to and ask more questions or look at additional reports.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we don't want, when we talk about this all the time on the podcast, we don't want to take people out of these systems. We know you've invested in these systems. We want you to see these reports that you're looking at and say, oh, that looks interesting. I need to investigate that more. Oh, well, here's a quick link. Get right back to what you're looking at now in the system. Investigate it however you need to.
And I think you used a word that I love, which is the enriched data world we live in now, which is, look, Zendesk, if this is the support team, and the support team has a lot of the information, their tickets in here, great. But there's other systems you own that other valuable information for the same audience lives. And again, with RocketScreens, right, we can enrich the Zendesk data by putting other reports alongside it in this visual playlist of information that's being pushed to you. And so you can rapidly retrieve it, rapidly receive it. And then again, if there's any issues or concerns, you can go right to those products and dig into the source. But other than that, it kind of plays in the background.
Absolutely. The problem that we're trying to solve is the data silos, right? You have a little bit of your support information over there, a little bit over there, bringing it all together and being able to see it all in the same ecosystem.
And what other support-like technologies do we connect to today, since we're talking kind of in this genre, right? I know you've built out a lot of other integrations. Can you share a few examples of other systems that we connect to natively, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So PagerDuty is one that is coming very quickly. It will probably be live within the next week or two. We're just doing some final testing on that. PagerDuty is an incident response program. We're also looking at ServiceNow. You mentioned that earlier. That one's also going to become available in the next few weeks. What we have currently, we have a lot of task management systems. Those are often used for support desk and customer service as well. So platforms like Asana, Jira, Trello, we integrate with all of those today. And so those tools are, like I said, often used for those purposes as well.
Awesome. And like you said, and more coming, right? So
Yeah,
we know, in fact, I think studies show that large organizations, that they now have, over 130 to 140 different applications to run their business. Who in their right mind thinks that employees can stay on top of interacting and even with single sign-on to all those products? And that's why so many companies are investing in data warehousing projects, so they get all the data in one spot. But again, it's just a myriad of different tools, solutions out there that everyone has. You pick what matters most to you and your organization, but then you expect everyone to run their part of their business, to be engaged, to be productive, to have to go to all those different tools to get to the information. That's just ludicrous.
absolutely.
And so, well, good. Well, thank you for showing this off today. It was eye-opening, and I guess we'll start showing off some of our sport tickets around the office. Maybe, hopefully, you're closing a lot of yours, Nick. or your teams, I should say. So, well, another good presentation. And again, this would be a great screen or channel to load up into like our Microsoft Teams. So the ops teams can be constantly looking at this. You've got Slack. There's other kind of intranet like technologies that we can embed this browser URL into and have it just kind of live in the background. So, well, good. Another episode well done. Thank you, Kay, for your time. Hopefully you learned something today.
Yep, I did.
Outstanding. And Nick, like always, sir, have a great day. And till next time.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Kay. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.